So, hello, hi to Evan, hi to Al Yosef. Thanks for joining us. Do say where you're joining us from as well, just because that's always nice for me to see, so I know who's watching. I'm in Cologne, as I am most of the time at the moment. So I'm actually where I always am when I do these streams, but I thought I'd be a little bit more comfortable today and take it to the couch. So, here we go. We've got some more people joining us now. This is the first live stream for Meet the Germans we're doing this year, which I can't quite believe. We did a few last year, so I'm sorry for the delay. It's just, the time's flown. But we've got plenty to talk about. Any questions you've got already, post them in the comments. I've got the stream up on the side here, so I should be able to follow what's going on. I've also got some comments people left on Instagram yesterday as well, so like I said, plenty to talk about and very diverse, the things that you guys are asking. So, let me know what you want to chat about today. Just in case anyone is stumbling across this stream and doesn't know what it is, my name's Rachel and I present the DW show Meet the Germans on this channel on Euromaxx. And we go into all the interesting, quirky, weird, wonderful things about German culture. So it might be history, it might be current culture, could be all sorts of things. So you can ask any questions you like about Germany. I'm not an expert on every area, so I'll just let you know if I don't know the answer to something. But yeah, very keen to see what you want to talk about. Oh, hello to Düsseldorf. Yes, we're almost neighbours. Nice to see you. We won't talk about the rivalries. And hi, I'm very well. Thank you, Satsai. And please say something about the opportunities. Oh, international students is something I get asked about a lot. I actually never was an international student in Germany. I studied elsewhere, but I did make an episode all about studying in Germany, not just for international students, but studying in general. Found out lots of interesting facts that way. I know that it's a really popular destination for international students, and there are some courses that are even more targeted to international students that are, for example, taught in English. Not everywhere, you won't find that at every university. So I think the advice would be do your research, definitely. You need to find out if the course is going to be offered all in German or if it's going to be in other languages too. What kind of financial aid is available, because that's very different for international students than it is for EU or German students. But there's loads of really good information on the internet about that. So you can also get in touch with the student organisation at the university. So yeah, lots of information around. And do watch the episode, Meet the Germans, Studying in Germany. So, Evan's asking, did you know how to speak German before moving to Germany? The ultimate question that I get asked a lot. Not really is the answer. So I had 1 year in school when I was 12 or 13. We didn't learn very much. It was basically asking about people's pets and that kind of thing. And I did go to Germany then for a German exchange, but we didn't speak very much German, I have to admit. So no, I didn't speak much. I started to try to start picking bits up once I got together with my German boyfriend. And I found very much that the big push for me was moving here and just being forced into talking every single day, reading the newspaper, watching television, however good or bad that might be, talking to people in the supermarket, just little daily things that make you really, really practice just the small things, Practice makes perfect, it's true. Greetings from the old country. Hi, Graham. Have you got your cup of tea with you? I have to admit, I've not gone for a classic tea like I would have at home. I've told people this before. I don't really drink tea now that I'm in Germany because I just don't think that it tastes the same. But I've got an Earl Grey without milk today. Oh, it's still nice and hot. So let's see what people are saying. Guten Abend, Kevin and Sarah. Wie geht's? Okay, another ultimate question. How does living in Germany mainly differ from living in England? And hello to Singapore. Lots of little things. I think the cultures are not worlds apart, you have to say that. So if I was coming from a culture where things were much more different, I appreciate that there are similarities between the UK and Germany. But I'd say it's just the small things about maybe the way people interact with each other. So the eternal question of superficial politeness. Is it superficial or is it just nice? Being blunt, that kind of thing, which has pros and cons, of course. The interest in rules is something you get used to in Germany. I wouldn't say that in England we're complete rebels and we never follow the rules. That's not the case either. But I think maybe we're a little bit more flexible. So those are just a couple of things that come to mind. And Dave's saying he completely agrees. Same thing in 1997. So yeah, I guess that's the interesting thing with traditions and national cultures. Even 50 years ago, often people who've been to Germany, they'll say very similar things to what I notice today, because I guess that's what makes it a tradition, right? It's part of the culture, and even in a globalized world where we're so connected with one another, things still remain different between us, and I think that's a great thing. I think that language, food, all that kind of thing would be really terrible if we were all the same anyway. So culture shocks, I guess that is the similar thing as I just said. And Haley's asking, is it a sin to drink tea without milk? It's frowned upon for sure, but the real question, I don't even know anyone who doesn't drink it with milk. The real question obviously is always, do you put your milk in before the tea or after the tea? I prefer after, because then you can see exactly what colour it's turning and if it's correct. But I don't want to start off a big argument here. So as we've got component learning to speak. So Darius is saying that learning to speak German outside of Germany is not the same. And that's, it's just, you can't get away from that. It's so much easier when you're there. Well, easier and harder, because you're confronted with challenges every day. And sometimes the challenges will make you run home and cry because you'll just feel like you failed, or someone didn't understand you, or perhaps someone gets irritated with you because they think they misunderstand what you're saying. But at the same time, the process will go so much faster because you're just being forced into it, and you'll pick up small things without even realising it sometimes, just because you'll see one word on, road signs or in a text somewhere. And slowly it'll sort of, you're like a sponge, like a baby, and you pick things up without even noticing it sometimes. So if you have the chance to be here, even for a short period, it'll help a lot. And T.E. Lawrence says, I now speak English like a German who speaks excellent English, which is very interesting. I always like it on YouTube when people write under the videos how bad my English accent is or something like that. I think, oh wow, have I really lost it that much? And I also think my accent has changed since I got here. I was discussing this with someone the other day. I've just got a really quite neutral, quite posh English accent, which I think has become more like that since I've moved here, because I feel like I have to speak clearly, I suppose, but I don't even think about it anymore. Darius also saying, do you get recognised often in the streets of Cologne? Not so much at the moment, so I guess having a mask on doesn't help that, but it did happen before, not just Cologne, but like around the place. Someone in London once wrote to me and said they'd seen me in Soho, and we were filming in Berlin, it was either last week or the week before, and one guy came over and said hello, so if you're watching, hi, thanks for talking to us, and another guy sent me a picture from behind where he'd pictured us doing filming, but he didn't come and say hello, he just sent me the picture later on Facebook. So if you do see me around filming, please come and say hi, because we do like that. So Pixel's saying, kind of like when I went to France for a game with students there, didn't speak with any students because they were on strike. Okay, you win some, you lose some. Oh, I need to scroll down a bit. Kind of off topic, but what sport other than football would you say is very popular in Germany and the UK? Sport's interesting. So there's definitely a lot of crossovers between the two countries. So something like, for example, tennis would be a good example. maybe less so at the moment in Germany because they haven't had so many big stars, and they've got Kerber at the moment, she's good. But they don't seem to have... Oh, I forgot what's that guy's name? Zverev? He's good, but there's not tons. There haven't been so many in the last 10 years or so. Sport's also interesting because of the differences that we have. So I've told you before that my passion sport is netball, which doesn't even exist here. So I'm doing my best to change that. I've got a team, Cologne, Düsseldorf, and we're starting to recruit some actual Germans into the team. So you never know. Watch this space. Maybe Germany will be the next big netballing nation. Thank you, John. He's confirming that milk goes in after the tea. I'm glad you agree. Oh, and Pixel saying, isn't it more of a discussion of if you take bags or loose tea? I mean, no question for me. Loose tea is just too much of a faff, so I don't even go into that discussion. Okay, now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. We've got a question from MS saying, who will win the election? Well, if I knew that, then I would go to the bookies and make a bet. It's so interesting this year, just because it's going to be such a change. Whatever happens, there's going to be such a change after almost 16 years of Angela Merkel being in charge. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I'd love to know what you guys think and how much of a big topic it is in the country where you are right now. I mean, obviously we're hearing all about it all the time here, but I'd love to know what it's like elsewhere in terms of the media, or, you know, are you discussing it with your friends? So it feels like a huge deal here. I can't vote, so I feel sadly a little bit shut out of this. But I'm still very interested in it, obviously, and I've been filming last week 2 videos actually about the election. And as I mentioned, one of the videos is going to be coming out on Friday, so it's going to be looking at the background of politics and elections and voting in Germany, which is quite complicated, I found out. So we try our best to break it down and just make it as clear as possible for other people, seeing as I can't vote. And yeah, whatever questions you have, put them in the chat about politics as well. Like I said, I'm not an expert, but I will do my best to answer what I can. Hi, Juan from Los Angeles. Nice to see you. Oh, Mayank asking, are there many Indian restaurants in Germany? Not as many as there should be, I'll tell you that. So, having lived in London before, eating Indian food, Sri Lankan food, Pakistani food was something I loved to do. And I'd say those types of cuisine I don't see as often here. There's a lot more Turkish food, there's a lot of Italian food, that kind of thing. And I haven't yet found an Indian restaurant in Cologne that's quite up to scratch. But yeah, there's some good ones, just not as good as I was used to back in London. And I've never been to India, so I can't compare it to the actual real thing. Tox Timber saying, scones or shortbread? Obviously the first controversial thing is it scones or scones? I say scones. I'm going to say shortbread. Scottish heritage. I like my shortbread. The more butter, the better, basically, right? So, Kai's asking, wow, there's more questions about scones. Oh, of course, because it's tea time. I totally missed that. Yeah, so we should discuss tea time. This is called tea time. We call this live tea time, right? But I need to make the point that I don't think I've ever sat down at 5 o'clock to have tea. I think tea, the drink, I drink in the UK all the way throughout the day. Doesn't matter what time it is. And it's what you'll tend to do if you go to someone's house, or if you meet up with somebody, or even if you're seeing your colleagues for a break, someone will say, shall we have a cup of tea? But the whole scones and cakes and little sandwiches with cucumber in them at 5 o'clock was just, sadly, not something I ever did. So, yeah. Wouldn't say no, but I haven't gone to the effort of baking any scones, sadly. So Andrea's saying, oh, just dropped by to say how much I love Meet the Germans. Thank you very much. You're moving to Germany next year and you're very excited. Love from Argentina. Cool. Well, glad to see you've been doing some research before. That's always good. Yeah, there's just so much to delve into here. I think it's really useful to, go on YouTube and find out about some other people's experiences, people who have migrated to Germany already. I hope that some of my anecdotes and experiences have been useful for you guys, because I'm failing, or I'm finding things challenging so that you don't have to. I hope that's the way it is. If you have any specific questions, then let me know, and I can maybe try and cover it in a video before you make it over here. But good luck with the move. Craig is from Ireland. Hello. Always wanted to do interrailing around Central Europe, and Germany was always on the bucket list. Yeah, I mean, Europe's obviously just got so much to offer. Interrailing is such a good idea. I don't know how easy it is at the moment, but when things improve, definitely. And of course, do make it to Germany. There's so much to do here. I would say don't plan too little time, because there's just a lot of variety here. It's worth planning in at least a couple of weeks, so you can try and take at least one place, from north, south, east, west. I mean, the centre always gets a bit neglected, but then you won't annoy anybody. So, hi Jill, thank you very much. Greetings back to Chicago. Halia saying that they thought I was German. No, I am not. But I'm going to have to see how it goes. If by the next election I'm still not allowed to vote, then maybe I'll have to think about trying to get German nationality. At the moment, it's not something I'm thinking of, but yeah, I would like to be able to participate. And John's saying that there's also an election in Canada on the 20th. There's a lot of general dissatisfaction here with politicians. Is this a trend in Germany? Obviously pretty hard to generalise. There's a lot of topics that very much polarise voters and people here in general, and it's going to be so interesting to see which ones actually decide the race. You have things like, for example, when you look at the polls, if you trust polls, people are putting something like climate change really, really high up, but it'll be really interesting to see whether that is reflected in the results in a couple of weeks. There are some issues that are just always important in Germany, so things like education, pensions. Pensions is a huge one, which isn't a very, exciting topic, you would think, but it's really important here, especially because it is quite an old population. So that's something that voters are going to be looking for. They've been having these debates on television, which normally are called the duel, so between two candidates, but because there are three this year, it's the triel. I think they've had 2 so far out of 3, which there'll be in total. And it's just been interesting to see the candidates facing off, especially because it's often discussed how in Germany the politics are not so personalised as they are in some other countries. And in that kind of debate, it's very much a focus on the people. I'd also love to know what you guys think about the 3 main candidates. Have they impressed you? Oh, Tom, thank you very much, saying that Meet the Germans has brought so much joy to myself and a bunch of expat friends who I forward the videos to. Well, thank you very much for the promotion. And I'm so glad it brings joy as well, because that is, it's not meant to just be, I'm not trying to scare people, scare people away at all. I think that we can have a bit of a laugh about some of the unusual things that we come across here. And what I always say I love the most, is that we come into conversation, newcomers come into conversation with people who grew up here, and then you find out how the other side sees things, and that's, I don't know, I think that's pretty important for cultural understanding. Okay, controversial question. What's it going to be? From Kai. Would you agree that in total the UK and Germany share far more in common than they have differences? Yes. Overall, for sure. Like I said, we're just really not worlds apart. But I think maybe even particularly in the UK, we quite often like to highlight our differences. I think both nations are very, they're quite proud of their traditions. They've got regional pride, that kind of thing. So I'd say both quite like to focus on some of the things that they do differently. Maybe something like Brexit is a symbol that the UK likes to see itself as a bit more individual. But at the end of the day, we've got a lot in common, that's for sure. So Suat is asking, what is your favourite city in Germany? I always answer this first of all a bit diplomatically and say Cologne, because I live here and because I know it the most. But I love Berlin, it's got so much to offer. I love Hamburg. I could definitely see myself living there by the water. And I went to Freiburg, was it last year or the year before? And was really impressed by that. I think Freiburg is a great city. But yeah, as I've said before, I need to do a lot more exploring as well when the pandemic allows. Okay. Hi to Dana, nice to see you there. So Dana is also an excellent source on YouTube of wisdom about Germany, and she's asking, are there any particular German words that you often struggle to say or that you find especially tricky? I find it the most difficult when there are different vowel sounds coming after one another. I can't think of an example right now, but say you had a U with an umlaut, with the two dots, and then in the next word you had a U without them. Just trying to get my mouth around that subtle but important vowel change, I find really, really hard, and I always will then say one of those two words wrong. So, it's potluck which one comes out correctly. And I would say always, if you've got a word in front of you, it's kind of easy-ish to pronounce it, right? Because German is mostly say what you see. But sometimes you can just get in such a muddle in your head because if you're not seeing the letters in front of you, yeah, you just get a little bit lost, especially in the very long words. Sushant is saying, I like German people's personality. Good. I think they have a bit of a bad rep sometimes. People seem to think that they're a bit cold, perhaps not that, warm and welcoming. Hasn't been my experience, and I think something that often comes up in conversation, and we talk about this a lot on Instagram, the misconceptions that people have before they come to Germany, is that actually it might take a little bit longer to break down the barriers with a German acquaintance before they become a friend, but it's worth it. And once you get there, then you really do form quite a deep bond, and they'll be willing to help you with basically anything. So stick at it is the is the bottom line for that. And yeah, wanted adventure watchers meet the Germans. Yeah, we need to get more of a cooperation going on. Okay, Godot is saying, I'm coming to Bremen next month to study. What do you think about that city? I've heard it gets awfully cold. Okay, yeah, bring a jumper, that's for sure. The north, the cold north. I've never been to Bremen, but I have a very good friend who's from there, and he is very, very proud of the city. Definitely go and watch a football match. I would advise that. And yeah, I guess you should tell me, really. Once you've been there, let me know what your favourite things were. I'm really, really hoping to be able to do some more videos on like regional specialities and really just focus on, places at least in the north, south, east, west, so that at least we can separate it a little bit that way, and instead of talking about all of Germany in the video, really go especially for a particular region or area. So Bremen will definitely be on my list for that, and you can let me know where I should go. Oh dear. Okay, my aunt's saying, why is British food so flavourless? Despite the fact they ruled India for 190 years. Well, I would say, yep, from an outside perspective, people always think British food is flavourless. They quite often think it's quite beige, which is a complaint I've made about German food before. And I'm a terrible example because I can't even handle spice. So I'm sorry, I have a very bland taste. Someone asking where I live in Cologne. So I live in Nippers. It's a nice Viertel, as they would say, so a nice quarter of the town. I think there are some more lively areas of Cologne, so definitely like where the students live, more towards Ehrenfeld, near Cologne South. That's a little bit more lively, so a good place to visit, but I like it where I live. And Vedraj asking, since when did Germans start to drink tea? So I don't know, but there's a lot of herbal teas here. So if you go to the supermarket, one of my main complaints about German supermarkets has often been that there's not that much variety of each thing. But when you go to the tea aisle, there's I don't know, even a whole aisle with different coloured boxes of different Kräuter tea. Not so many of different types of black tea. But yeah, if you like your Kräuter tea, then you're in heaven. Bertold saying, my girlfriend's from Scotland and Brexit means they want to live together but they're not sure, so they're going to try and live in Germany. Okay. Who knows, maybe Scotland will be back in the EU at some point. Might take a while. If you do make it over, then yeah, I really hope that works out. I think that long-distance relationships were not really at the front and foremost of politicians' minds, sadly, but it's definitely been an issue. I was actually still living in the UK when the Brexit vote went through. So yeah, just got over here in time basically for that. Not to really cause any problems, but yeah, I wish you all the best. Hello to Jay Musil. Hello to Mainz. Nice to see you. Mainz is somewhere I also want to go because I have another friend from the area, from Worms, which is nearby, and she's always raving about the wine festival. So let me know if you've been. I've been to a couple of wine festivals, but more in like the Mosel area of Germany. Really nice. You just get to, go around all the different wineries and taste. They have one of those like wooden boards with the little glasses, really cute little glasses with a green stem. And then you can get all the wines from like super sweet to super dry, all the other way around. Yeah, I definitely recommend that as a good summer excursion. Oh, Brennnessel tea, exactly. What do you call that? Nettle tea, stinging nettle tea is something that we have, which nobody drinks. But my mother-in-law, I have seen her pick wild Brennnessel, so wild stinging nettles, and make herself some tea. So some people do drink it. Okay, Antonio is going in with a nice deep question. What is your philosophy of life as of today? I'm just going to say my philosophy of life is to enjoy it. I think that's something we've all learned over the last couple of years. Oh, Kieran asking, would you go on the Easy German podcast at some point? People are always saying we need to collaborate with Easy German, so they're so good for language learners. I think they do a great job. So yeah, why not, for sure. And we should definitely get them on Instagram as well. Someone was asking, have I ever lived in Holland? Nope, I have not, but I have been told a few times that my German accent sounds a bit like I'm Dutch, so maybe I should try it out. I went to Holland about a month ago to try and play netball. We were going to have a friendly match against Maastricht, but then we couldn't get into the sports hall, so that got cancelled. Ali's asking, have I been to the Hofbrauhaus in Munich? Yes, I have, because we filmed there, I guess that was 2 years ago as well. So when we did the episode all about the memory of World War II, we filmed that, I think all of it in Munich. And at the end of filming, we popped into the Hofbrauhaus and I had one beer and was just quite overwhelmed by the size of it because I'm not used to the massive beers living in Cologne. I'm used to the tiny ones. Matt saying, I love linguistic topics. Yeah, same. I mean, there's so much to unpack when you're discussing the German language and then comparing it with other languages. So we also do that a lot on Instagram. We have every Thursday, we call it Deutsch am Donnerstag, so German on Thursday. And we just try and unpack something. Sometimes it's something a bit silly. Sometimes it's a proper going into the depth of why a rule is the way it is. Maybe some top tips for grammar or something like that. Which actually reminds me of a question that a few people asked. So we had this at the beginning in the chat and also on Instagram. People ask me a lot about the discussion that's going on in Germany about gender-neutral speech. And people quite often ask me if I find it more difficult as a German learner. So for people who aren't following it, German is full of, for example, nouns always have a gender. There's 3 different ones. There's der, die, or das, masculine, feminine, or neuter. But also, adjective endings, all that kind of stuff. It's all tied together. And people are saying, should we try and make the language more gender neutral? So that if you're talking, for example, to a group of people who are, not necessarily all men, should you use the, what's it called, generic masculine to refer to everybody, or should there be another way of doing it? There are various different methods that have been tried out. So some people use the Binnen-I, which is a big I in the middle, which kind of then combines the masculine and feminine form. Some people use a little star, which is supposed to then be even more inclusive, I've read, because it's not necessarily just including people who identify as male or female. There's, what's the other one? Oh yeah, there's a colon version where you put like a little colon before you then put the feminine ending. So there's a few different methods, and I think that's the most difficult thing for a German learner, is that there's not one go-to way of doing it. But in terms of it being overall too confusing for a German learner, I would almost argue it could be easier for us, because instead of having to say, you're saying colleagues, hello to my male colleagues and to my female colleagues, which is the other way to do it, which is very wordy and long, you just have one word which communicates that you're talking to everybody. So I don't really see that as a problem. Plus, I think it's important to note that when you come and learn another language, you're quite often missing some of the nuances. So you could inadvertently you could use a word and not even realise what the connotations of what you're saying are, or not even realise that you could be making some people feel excluded because you just learned that word from a textbook, if you see what I mean. So I actually appreciate the fact that something like this may be able to make me be more sensitive with the way that I use language. So Bedraj is asking, even with all the COVID precautions, why do Germans still prefer cash? Yeah, it's something that's always going to be surprising, I think, for people from different cultures, but yeah, that's persisted. There's definitely way more payment by card, especially since the pandemic. I can pay in my bakery now with a card, and I think that's going to stay. I really hope it's going to stay. But, there are various reasons. So one is people always say that they have a better overview of what they're spending if they see the cash and it disappears, rather than if they just tap the plastic. A huge one is data privacy. They don't want, for example, big American companies knowing exactly what they bought and where. So I can understand the reservations a lot of the time, but personally, I still prefer the convenience. Howdy from Belgium. Nice to see you. And Sushant asking, what's my point of view about hiking? So I do like a good hike, although now that I say that, I'm trying to think of the last time I went on a hike. It was a long time ago. In fact, the last time I went on a hike, I think, wasn't really a hike, it was a wine walk, so a Weinwanderung. And if there is wine involved in a hike, then I guess it's always more tempting. But yeah, I absolutely get why the Germans love to hike. I also love, the idea that you're out in nature, loads of fresh air. It's satisfying to feel like you've done some exercise, you've carried your stuff with you, you've seen something, so you then also deserve the beer at the end of the day. So I think they've got it right with that one. Okay, so Matt's also saying, in terms of the gender-neutral language, okay, so Persian is a gender-neutral language. Is it possible for German to become a gender-neutral language? Yeah, that's also the question. Is it even possible? It's a really big discussion because of the fact that if they want to go all the way to making it a gender-neutral language, there are going to have to be some big changes made. But I think the point of view most people have at the moment is not necessarily coming through and putting a red pen through all of the German language and saying, nope, it has to be this, only this way, but people who want to use the new gender-neutral forms should be free to do so. So, yeah, I think that's probably the way it is at the moment. McClegg saying, what do you think of traditional Cologne food like Himmel und Erd or Flunz? I don't know what Flunz is. You're going to have to tell me what that is. Himmel und Erd I did eat, so I'm now vegetarian, so I would not eat that anymore. That is, if I remember correctly, mashed potato and applesauce with, what do you call it? Black pudding, so like blood sausage. I have had it before. Not exactly my favourite thing, but yeah, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of traditional food. But yeah, I think sadly now that I've gone veggie, a lot of very traditional German food is no longer on the menu, so to speak. I can still have Käsespätzle, so that's good, and that's my favourite. Pascal, hello. Ooh, hello to Lebanon. Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Okay, do I own a bicycle? I do. I actually made a reel recently which featured my bicycle. And someone wrote in the comments, that's the rustiest bike I've ever seen. Which is a fair comment. It's one of those very old school ones that like fold together. And I think it looks cool. It does make a bit of a noise because it is quite rusty, so I probably need to take a bit better care of it. And Kai is saying all the time, just replace everything with man or dings. Dings is such a good word, or dingsbums is even better. It's like a way of saying thingy or thingy-mabob. So if you don't remember something, just throw that in and say, oh, can you pass me the dingsbums? That's a great word. Thank you very much for reminding me of that. Here we go. So Tox Timber's saying, also, Flunz is Blutwurst. So that would then be a part of Himmel und Erd. Maybe there is a vegetarian version of this that I could try. If there is, I'll let you know. In fact, maybe I'll do a live tasting of it sometime. Oh, okay. Matthias suggests that I post recipes when I cook German food. Yeah, so sometimes if I try something, I do then film along and I might post it on Instagram or something. I'm not the best cook, which I have admitted many times before, and which you can see in the video on DW Food YouTube, where I attempted to make kohlrabi with Felicitas Teen. I'm not that talented naturally, but maybe that makes it more accessible. Yeah, I think I'd like to do some more of those, testing out, making something. I recently made vegetarian schnitzel, which I filmed, so I will be posting that on Instagram soon. It was very tasty, actually, if I do say so myself. Oh, Hayley's asking, what are the funniest English words that you hear Germans using? Okay. There are some that I find just like slightly cringy, and I'm not even sure why. So, for example, nice. Nice is nice. It's a nice word, but I just, for some reason, find it a bit cringy when Germans throw it into a German sentence, and they're like, oh, nice. But I think that's just me being a bit mean. What other words? And then there are some words that have definitely been adopted, especially into business speak, that are definitely just a little bit jarring, I'd say, especially if it's a word that's maybe taken from a noun in English and it's turned into a verb or something like that. But yeah, that's always going to happen. Technology and business speak is definitely drawing a lot on English. Hello to the Philippines. Oh, Kimberly's saying in the Philippines they miss German bread. Yep, we've all been there. I actually tried to bake some German bread in lockdown. They actually have, in most German supermarkets, they have pre-mixed bread, like flour, and it's already got the yeast in it and stuff like that. So they have quite simple packages that you can just then make your own bread rolls or something. So I tried that once. It was okay. And yeah, I felt like I appreciated the skill of it more afterwards, but I definitely would rather just go and buy the original stuff from the bakery. Dina's saying Germans always say too less instead of too little. I mean, that's a problem that a lot of English speakers say wrong as well, right? But that's the thing, is like, would you correct someone in that situation? It's always something we talk about as well as German language learners. Should someone correct us every time we make a small mistake? or would we rather that they gloss over some of it? I think you have to strike a balance, because you don't want to be annoying someone every time they make a little tiny mistake, because that's not very motivating. But if you notice something, if you notice a German saying that all the time, then maybe it's like one little niggly thing they always forget, so you could tell them. Okay, Kieran's saying, as someone from Newcastle in England, I'm naturally interested in any north-south divides. What north-south divides have you noticed in Germany, apart from the typical religious or political differences? Yeah, I guess they've got quite different stereotypes associated with them, and not necessarily even that what outsiders might think, like non-Germans, but within Germany, there's quite clear ideas of what people from the different regions are often like. They have a bit of a reputation within the country. So the Northerners are known for being a bit colder, a bit sort of standoffish, perhaps. And in the south, they're kind of known... I mean, in the south you find a lot of the typical cliches that you hear about in Germany, when it comes to the food or the traditional dress, that kind of thing. They're also, I think, known for being generally more wealthy. But I'm not confirming or denying any of those stereotypes. So, Tobias saying, do you sometimes get confused when Germans use fake English words like handy, beamer, or home office? So let's say handy is a mobile phone, beamer is a projector, whereas at least in British English, that would be a BMW. And home office, of course, I mean, in the UK, it's a political ministry. And you can say, I think especially US English, you can say that you have a home office. So it's literally the space in your home that is an office in your home. But the whole concept of doing home office is definitely something the Germans have sort of invented, and it's become ingrained, and I now say it. And I think on the last live stream, I actually said, I'm doing home office, blah, 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 blah. And someone called me out in the comments and said, hey, but you said that's wrong. So yeah, once you hear it often enough, and I hear it all the time because of my colleagues, yeah, you start to speak this interesting mishmash Denglish yourself. Oh, and it's also BMW in Ami English as well, so thank you, Hayley. Syed's asking, how good or bad does kohlrabi taste? It's really good, and actually I got a tip. So when I posted the video quite a while back now about, I think it was 7 or 8 things that I saw in Germany for the first time, kohlrabi was one of them. So that's this interesting vegetable that looks like an alien, so it's got these sprouts on top, and it smells a bit like a turnip. And once I posted that video, someone said in the comments the best way to eat it was to slice it up and eat it fresh with a sprinkling of salt and a little bit of lemon juice on it. And I tried that the next time, and it's really, really good. So I recommend that. You can also cook it, but it's just it's just a bit bland then. And it's great in a salad as well, like grated up. Very crunchy. Where do Germans typically go on a date, and who pays? So we've definitely discussed this on YouTube and on Instagram. And people, I think the consensus was that Germans like an active date. So it's not unusual if they'll say, let's go bouldering, or let's go for a walk, or even a hike. So don't be put off by that. There was even one story of being asked to go to the sauna on the first date, which is quite bold, considering they are usually without clothing here. Yeah, so definitely active. Something active is a good idea. And who pays? If you're going to a restaurant, was another question. First date, that's a difficult one. I reckon if one was trying to really impress the other, they might pay, but it's so normal to split the bill. Therefore, it wouldn't be a bad sign if you were on a date with a German and at the end they asked for the bill separately. It doesn't mean they don't like you. Hi, Alex wants a shout out. There you are. Thanks for joining. Pascal's asking, do you think that moving to Germany is a good idea for non-German speakers, if the plan is to then study there in English and learn German at the same time? Yeah, why not? I think you just have to be aware of the fact that you will be much, much more integrated into what's going on in society and into your local community once you can speak German. It's even possible to move here, study in English and not learn German. So it kind of depends what you want to get out of the experience. You'll get a lot more out of it if you learn German, but I don't see why you should do that. You should have to do that before you come here. So yeah, a lot of companies actually as well offer German language courses then, so that if they've got international people coming across to work for them, they then, alongside their work, can study in the evenings or something. So, and probably they have that at universities too, but worth checking out. Oh, and thank you. Thank you for respecting my vegetarian lifestyle. I'll definitely be documenting how easy it is. I think somewhere like the capital in Berlin, it's really easy. I mean, they have such good vegetarian and even vegan restaurants, but I think it'll be a little more challenging in some smaller places. Adam's asking where or how did I meet my husband? So yeah, that was an Erasmus relationship 11, 12 years ago. We were both studying French and we met on the French island of La Réunion, and the rest is history. Juan's saying, could you comment on anything about people from Latin America moving to Germany? Popular cities or districts? I can't say specifically. I mean, obviously Berlin's a popular location for people from all over the place, and I know that there are a lot of Argentinians in Cologne. I'm friends with some of them. But I find it really interesting seeing what people point out about German culture when they come from specific regions of the world. And I know that often a lot of people from Latin America talk about, for example, timing and flexibility, and how it can be quite difficult to adjust to the quite structured lifestyle here. And, you know, people will ask them if they want to meet up in 2 months on a Tuesday or something, and they'll just say, I don't know, you can ask me the day before and see if I've got time. And Carlos asking, have you been to the German countryside? Could you recommend a place or region? Germany's got a really beautiful countryside, and as I mentioned before, it's really varied. So, you know, they've got mountainous areas like the Harz Mountains, should be really beautiful. I haven't been there, but the pictures I've seen look really nice. They've got great forests, obviously the Black Forest being the key example. But so even some, you know, lesser known areas are really beautiful. My husband is from Sauerland, and I think when you go through the really tiny streets that connect all they're called street roads that connect the smaller towns, you just sort of see very sweeping, quite flat fields. It just looks really calm, and you often have like those tree-lined roads, and it just looks very picturesque, especially when it's autumn, so you've got like a bit more burning colours around you. Yeah, I think that's really nice. And I love the Mosel region and the Eifel region. Very beautiful as well. Samia, thank you. Yep, thank you for the welcome back. I did have a very great vacation and I did recharge my batteries. Thank you very much. Okay, and on that note, Sushant's asking, why did you stop uploading videos? So I just had a break over the summer, but I was planning in the background. And as I said, I was filming recently. So we've been filming in Bonn and Berlin recently. And we've got a video coming out on Friday, so do check back then. That's going to be all about politics, elections, voting, all that kind of stuff. And we're already planning the next video too, so don't worry, there's more coming. And there's also loads planned on Instagram at the moment. We're also going to be going live next Wednesday on Instagram to talk more about politics. So as I said, I'm not the biggest expert on this, so I've invited someone over who is, Kate Brady. She's a political reporter for DW, so you can ask her all of the difficult questions that I can't answer. Oh, Ahmad's asking, do I understand Swiss German? I haven't had that much exposure to it, but I find in general dialects quite difficult. I mean, even I'm just so used to hearing people from the Rhineland speak that even if I go to the north of Germany, I have to retune my ear. So I imagine I would have some difficulty with Swiss German. Matthias says, we want more live. Yes, great. We have to do this more often. I honestly can't believe it's taken until now this year. It just, whew, 2021 has gone by in a blur. Okay, Anthony, this one's for you. 1, 2, 3. And I know that that's not how I'm supposed to do it, right? And I did this in the very early video. I think it was the small talk video. I did that, and someone thought a lot of people thought I was making a very veiled reference to Inglourious Basterds, the film, because that's, the way that they managed to work out that someone in the film was German. But anyway, that's how I do it, and I think that makes sense. It's just a lot more comfortable to do. So, maybe I should answer something from Instagram. I feel bad I've neglected those questions. There was a few more about the election here. So, as I mentioned earlier, I can't vote, so it's not like I have a strong opinion I can tell you about in that way. But yeah, I recommend watching the video on Friday because I think there's a few interesting little tidbits that you might not have known about the election. And like I said, it's really quite a complicated system, so it's worth taking a look at that and trying to see whether you understand the whole thing. You might think you understand it, but when you look at exactly how the votes translate into seats in Parliament, I'll be very impressed if you can explain that. Okay, so I've got some questions that we had on Instagram. Oh yeah, someone was saying German music seems to be mostly rap. Are there any other styles that are popular? I mean, yeah, I guess if you go on Spotify or something and type in German playlist, you very often do get a lot of German rap, and that is really popular here. It's something I didn't even know existed before, and I think a lot of people outside of Germany might never have heard of it. Very, very popular, especially, it's something that a lot of young people here listen to as well. But we cannot forget certain genres like, for example, Schlager, which is basically German pop. Very much an acquired taste. I've got a bit of a soft spot for it, I must say, but in small doses. And obviously techno is very big in Germany, EDM. They've still got, I don't know about modern rock, but they obviously have got like some huge bands in history have come from Germany in that genre. So yeah, there's definitely a broad range of musical tastes here. Not a whole lot of it necessarily gets exported to the world, but some do make it through. And that's also another topic I'm actually looking into right now because we wanted to do a video just on Schlager before Corona came, and then all the festivals got cancelled, so we broke that off. But now I've decided it's time for some music. So if there's anything specific you want to know, let me know in the comments here, and I will make a note of it so we can cover it in the video. Any thoughts about the beautiful nature of Bavaria? Well, I don't think I've enjoyed it enough. Probably most of the time I've spent in Bavaria has been in cities, unfortunately. So, yeah, the pictures that you see are just so often are really quite breathtaking. So I think I need to make the most of that. And Samir asking, do I listen to the music group Rammstein's songs? No, I can't say I actually ever did before I came here. And I didn't even quite realise how much of a big deal they were. So I'm sorry, Rammstein. I was doing a disservice to your obviously worldwide reputation. But we'll definitely bring them up. They're an important band in German music history and present. So yeah, we'll talk about them in the video. Margarita saying, I thought Germans were very big readers and was surprised by your video to see they're not. Well, I think it would be unfair to say that they're not big readers. That was just a comparison between a few other countries, and I was also surprised that it wasn't more. But I don't know. You see a lot of books in Germans' homes, so I don't know whether they're just decorating their homes or whether that means that they are avid readers. But they're definitely buying books along the way. I think something that I found really interesting here was how expensive the books are, because they have this rule, the Buchpreisbindung, where all shops have to sell the book for the same price, so you can't discount it. And I was a bit miffed by that at the beginning. I thought, 20 euros for a book, whew, it's a bit steep. But I guess I appreciate it now. I can see why. It's more to support up-and-coming authors as well, so it's not just about the blockbuster authors. So yeah, it's got good reasoning. Oh, Anthony's saying top 3 German artists. Difficult. Okay, Danger Dan, very good, very poetic and quite cool for German learners because like he really tells stories with his lyrics. So I think that's quite fun to follow. Gonna say Jan Delay because I like his new song and yeah, everyone here loves him. And who should I say? Maybe I should just say Helena Fischer. Not necessarily my favourite taste, but everyone should listen to her if they want to understand German Schlager. Blue Bilbo, thank you. I'm so glad that the videos have been helpful for you. Oh, and giving me some tips of tea that I can get in Germany. Thank you very much. But you can't get Barry's tea here, right? If you can, maybe I'll look out for it. Okay, and Semnum saying, did fax machine usage increase during Corona? I hope not. The plan before Corona was certainly that it was supposed to be winding down. I think the Bundestag even said that they were going to be getting rid of the fax devices in the ministries. It'll be interesting to see whether that's actually happened. Digitalisation as a whole is going to be so interesting to see once things have calmed down, what effect it really has had, how far it's gone and how much of it sticks will be so interesting to see, especially in areas like schools where the teachers, they've had a really hard time trying to very, very quickly digitalise. So some schools were really, really far behind, and it's still very much a patchwork across the country that some schools and some cities are much further ahead than others. Money was put aside by the government for digitalisation, specifically in schools, but it wasn't necessarily taken up. There are all sorts of reasons for that, one of it being bureaucracy, as you might not be surprised to hear. So there's a long way to go in Germany with digitalisation, but I do think that the current situation has pushed that to the forefront. It's also been a big deal in the election campaign, so the various candidates have been quizzed on this topic, so we'll see what really gets done. Okay, we are nearly up to the hour, so let's take a couple more questions. Oh, Darius asking who did you enjoy most with Eurovision this year? So I actually was supposed to go to Eurovision last year and didn't get to go because it was obviously cancelled. This year I reported on it and away from home, and I listened to all the songs many times, and I must admit I have listened to them since as well. I thought the songs were pretty cool this year. I loved Italy's entry. I think I didn't quite get the vibe until the live show, but I think it was really, really good. And Germany, yeah, that flopped a bit, didn't it? I thought Jendrik was quite sweet, and I definitely liked his message. I think it was a positive message, but it did not seem to translate to the rest of Europe. Okay, so Acme saying, do you miss British panel shows in Germany? Interesting. Would I lie to you? 8 out of 10 cats. So they're all sort of comedy / current affairs shows quite often, where you have panels of guests who are quite often made up of comedians, maybe mixed together with a celebrity, maybe a B-list celebrity. Yeah, I like that format, I do. I'm trying to think if I can think of an equivalent here. I don't watch a lot of German TV, largely because whenever I put it on, I'm disappointed. So I've started to watch more original German language series and things like that you might find on maybe Netflix, or I might watch a documentary on Arte or something like that, but actual television that's live, so to speak, I don't watch so much of. But yeah, that would be a good format, and I think the Germans would be quite good at it, to be honest, because they do quite like sparring off one another. Yeah. So, we'll see. Maybe it'll come. Oh, last question. Interesting. How's the Merkel fever going on as she's stepping down? I think it's going to be really interesting in the next couple of weeks how far the Merkel fever goes, because, yeah, I mean, she's still, the head of a party, so are we going to be romanticising Merkel? Probably in the next couple of weeks when she steps down. It's going to be the end of a very long era, so I think there will be a lot of big deal made about it. We're going to probably see lots of montages of her in lots of colourful blazers. But I don't mind that. She's worked hard for 16 years, so I guess we can give her a good Verabschiedung or goodbye. Cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody. The time really did fly by this time, but I think that's a sign that we need to do it again sometime soon. It's always lovely to chat with you all. Like I said, this Friday is the next episode of Meet the Germans, and it will be here on DW Euromaxx YouTube. And if you have any questions, or if something's not answered in the video, or if you've got any opinions you want to share about the electoral system, voting system, please leave it in the comments. Everybody's very keen to chat there. I love how you guys all talk to each other in the chat as well, so that's good. And like I said, next week on Instagram we'll have a live on Wednesday. That'll be 5:30 German time, DW_Meet the Germans. And all week we're going to have a themed week about the elections because, yeah, it's going to be an exciting week. We'll see what happens. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!